said in my statement earlier, the place to be. And I think if, no disrespect, but I think if they can have 12 to 15,000 people at a ball game in Starkville, Mississippi, in a town of 25,000 people, which is amazing, then certainly we can get to that point here, being so close to metropolitan areas, and of course College Station being a much bigger city. So that's my vision is, along with Ross, and again, as a coach, you don't want to speak out of turn to the athletic director when you're talking about facilities, but that's his vision, and we talked about that when we met for the first time. So certainly there's a lot of things that I'd like to get done in the near future to both enhance the atmosphere and enhance the fan experience and the player support areas. So we can, again, player development is so vital. Recruiting is so competitive, obviously, especially in this conference. We need to be able to give the coaches and the players the tools that they need to be successful.
The right side, Travis.
Travis Brown at the Bryan College Station Eagle. What have you know of the roster so far, and how have you been able to talk with the players? What evaluation have you been able to give in the short time?
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate the roster off a stat sheet or without seeing them play. I know these guys bleed for their school, and in my spare time, I think ESPN Plus and the SEC Network and the SEC Network Online has just been so awesome for college baseball, because again, I don't have too many hobbies, so if I'm always watching college baseball games. So if we weren't playing, then I would turn on one of them and watch a great game. And a lot of times this spring it was Texas A&M. So I think we'll continue to evaluate that. I met with about 8 or 10 guys this morning that were in town or local incoming players, and then I'll be in contact with all the players, whether it be through text message, social media, or call them, and hopefully, especially the ones playing around here in the relatively close area, I'll get a chance to go watch play, and we'll just figure out where they are and where they want to be, and there are players, and we're going to do everything we can to make them better.
And then with the bringing on of the one-time transfer rule, how do you see that changing or looking at how you can build a roster in your first season?
Certainly that's going to be a part of college baseball and college athletics now for a long time, and we'll hit the transfer portal, I'm sure, but it's got to be just a really good fit. I'm a big culture guy. I'm a big, you do things the right way. You do things not for the short term, but for the long term, and so you build and maintain your program with high school players, and you supplement your program with transfers, junior college, and now the 4-year transfer thing. So we'll pick and choose our places. Certainly, once I get a full evaluation of the roster and have an idea of where, what the players want to do. I know there are a couple guys that one in particular that's in the transfer portal, and we'll see what he wants to do. But I think that's going to be a continuing thing. It'll definitely help us, but I don't want to live by it, because I want to recruit great high school players that can see themselves playing here early in their career. And if you get too much of that going, then it creates a log jam for the long term.
Coach, we'll go back behind the lights. Mike?
Hey Coach, Mike Lucas with KAGS TV. I'll introduce myself when I think you can see me, because I don't think you can see back
Yeah, I
there.
can see it.
Awesome. Well, Coach, you mentioned wanting to win championships here. What about Texas A&M in this program makes you believe that winning a national championship is possible here?
Yeah, well, again, everything I said during the initial statement, academics, player development, and team success. If you're a player out there who aspires to get a great degree, continue your development as a player, and become the very best major league prospect you can become, and you want to compete for championships, and you want to do it in the greatest baseball conference in the country, in the greatest division of college baseball, then if you're afraid of this, then you shouldn't come here. But if you aspire to compete against the best and know that that's going to be difficult, but at the same time what anything worth having is, then all bets are off, man. This is a great place, and we're only going to continue to grow it, and it's been proven. Coach Childress won championships, Coach Johnson won championships. It's been proven that it can be done here, and that's, again, like I said, this isn't just their future, this is my future too. And I left an already amazing place for a different place. Not necessarily better, but different. And my job is to have the postseason success mirror what we were able to do at TCU and even do better than that.
Down front here, Zach.
Coach, down here at the bottom right, Zach Taylor, WTAW. One of those differences, obviously, College Station being closer proximity to Houston. I know at TCU didn't have much issue recruiting. It seemed like Houston area guys, but the fact that regionally A&M is much closer, do you think that that will help you in recruiting?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's where you start. I mean, you start and live in the Houston area, Houston and surrounding areas. There's great high school programs, phenomenal summer baseball programs, which is where the bulk of college baseball recruiting is done these days. And so, you know, my job and our staff is to make A&M an option for those players. Doesn't mean you're going to get them all the time, but we're going to make it real hard on them to not choose this place. And so it doesn't make any sense to go anywhere else. And now I understand at the same time, we're going to recruit the best players. And I don't care where they're from, we want the best ones. And so, but more than likely, more often than not, Houston, Texas, and the surrounding area is where you're going to start.
Coach, we'll go back to the far right, down front.
Hey, Coach, Matt Roberts, Fox 44, back here in the back. Obviously, this happened all very quickly. What have the last few days been like for you, and was there a particular moment where it kind of clicked in and said, "This is, I'll leave TCU for this"?
Well, this time last week we were getting ready to play a regional in Fort Worth, and I told our players in our postseason meeting that, I had 8 amazing seniors, 5 of them in their 6th-year of college that are very, very, very close to me, and I met them in my office, and I wanted them to be sure that they knew and looked me in the eye that there wasn't ever 1 second where I wasn't 100% invested in what we were trying to do. I'm excited to be here today. Frankly, I wish I was still playing and then have this happen later. But the moment, I mean, it's just been a steady build over time. It was more, I knew if I was to ever leave TCU, it had to fit a perfect criteria, and it had to happen at a perfect time professionally and personally. And all of those things lined up, and my children are obviously the most important thing in my life. And so as soon as Jackson and Katie looked at me and said, "Dad, we're all in on this. You got to do this." As soon as they signed off on it, then it was just a matter of getting over the emotions of leaving a program that I've been, living and breathing for 18 years, and the loyalty that they've shown me. And I think this is a good day for TCU too. I think everything has a shelf life, and I'm sure there are plenty of people there that maybe want a new voice, and that's fine too. I don't have a problem with that. We're looking forward, not back.
Down front, Olin.
Yeah, Coach Olin Buchanan with TexAgs.com. A couple of things. First, so why leave a program that you were so comfortable in and so established in to come here?
I like a challenge, and not a blind challenge, but one in which there are things in place where there's already been some success, but there's room for growth, not just on the field, but programmatically. I hate the term CEO coach. Sometimes I get called that. To me, that implies that you're not a baseball guy. You look at the other stuff, but to me, it's one thing, and this goes back to Travis's question on the transfer portal. We're not just looking to have a good team, we're looking to have a great program. And that is something that's sustainable over time. And so, I just felt like at 50 years old, I still have plenty of energy to go do something really cool again. What we did at TCU was just awesome, to go from a place that had been to 2 regionals in over 100 years, and then be one of only 2 schools that in a 10-year period played in the College World Series 5 times. That's amazing. And is there still work to be done at TCU? No question. And that was, if I'd have stayed, that was the challenge, was to get back to Omaha and win a national championship. But here, I talked to Coach Tanner at the athletic director at South Carolina, who used to be the baseball coach. And when I was in college and at Clemson, he was the baseball coach at North Carolina State. And he left North Carolina State and they had a phenomenal baseball program to go to South Carolina. Now the SEC was good, but it wasn't like it is now. And I called him and I said, why'd you do that? And he said, you know what? I just wanted to coach in the American League East one time. And the SEC West is the American League East of college baseball. And so, you know, I'm not afraid of that. I know exactly how tough that's going to be. And I'm sure it's even tougher than I can imagine, having not been in the league full time. But that was the challenge. But I don't really have a desire, never say never, I don't have a desire to coach. I was very, very close to Augie Garrido. I don't have a desire to coach to that age. I'd like to do this, you know, to a certain spot, and I felt like I just didn't want to have any regrets in my coaching career. I wanted to make a run at something like this. And I've been 26 years at a private school, where Tulane as an assistant and TCU as the head coach, and there are advantages to that, but there's also some big challenges. And so there have been other opportunities over 18 years, but this one lined up at the perfect time, at the perfect place.
If I could ask one more, it struck me when you said that you're not patient. That's really kind of the same thing Jimbo Fisher said on his introductory press conference. So what, in your mind, is a realistic timetable to go from a good program to a championship caliber program?
Yeah, let me be careful what I say right here. You know, that's hard to say. I haven't seen any of the guys play, but you know, I don't want to be in Omaha next year. But there's just a lot of work to be done, and I know the Aggie Land, Aggie Nation, and I'm sure they're going to want that this year, and so do I. But I think every good thing takes work, and not necessarily doesn't have to take time. I mean, the thing about baseball is it can happen for anybody. In 2016, the closest we're sitting in the College World Series at TCU with a 2-0 record, in the driver's seat, feeling great. We have to win one more ball game to make it to the championship series against Arizona and this little school named Coastal Carolina. We had to win one, they had to win 3, and they did. Crushing to be that close to playing for the national title. It didn't happen. So it's tournament baseball. And once you get to the postseason, whether it's 12U, 16U, high school, junior college, and that's what Coach Childress did an amazing job of, is he put his teams in position every single year to play well in the NCAA tournament. And that's my goal, to do that, and then we can hopefully play our best when we get there.
Back to the lights, Darryl, and then down front, Gabe.
Coach, Boomer White was a guy that played for you, then he came to Texas A&M, and I understand that you guys had a conversation. Can you kind of talk a little bit about Boomer and maybe what insight he was able to provide you about this opportunity?
Sure. Boomer and I have an awesome relationship. It's very unique in that I don't think I spoke to Boomer this week. Congratulations to Boomer, by the way. He became a father, I think it was this morning. And so super excited for him, and his parents were here today. Yeah, we got back from the College World Series in 2014, and he got a walk-off hit, or a game-winning hit against Texas Tech, and everybody's feeling great. He's getting ready to head to the Cape Cod League. He's Boomer White, like, he got this great name, and he's going to be a legend at TCU. And he walks in my office and says, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm transferring. And I was like, to what planet? Right. And he said, no, I've always, you know, I love it at TCU, but I just can't. Being an Aggie has always been in my heart, and for my life, I have to do this. And what do you say to that? You know, and he didn't do anything wrong, and TCU didn't do anything wrong, which is what he wanted to do. And so I didn't really talk to him again. I wasn't mad at him, but, you know, didn't really talk to him again until right after the Super Regional in 2016, when we won the game. And I know, you know, he was upset, and I walked across to do the press conference and gave him a big hug, and that was really the last time I talked to him until this week. And we had a great conversation about his experience here, and he said some great things on my behalf to the administration here, which I'm very thankful for. I look forward to rekindling our relationship
Down front, Gabe.
again.
Hey, Coach, how are you? Gabe Bach,
Yeah.
TexAgs. I want to ask you about Mark Johnson. Just talked to him after the press conference. I know you know him well.
Yeah.
How important is Mark during this time where you're still getting to know A&M?
Super important. Coach Johnson has been a kind of distant advisor of mine for a long time, not just in baseball, but life in general and faith. And he's a true gentleman in our sport. We're on the American Baseball Coaches Association board together, and so I see him usually in January at our convention, and then at the College World Series here in a couple weeks. We have board meetings there, so he'll be, obviously there's a lot of great resources here, and there's people that I have known for a while, but Coach Johnson will certainly be someone that I lean on for 1,000 different things. And I had that at TCU. I had Lance Brown. At UNLV, I had Freddie Dallimore. And so I've been very, very lucky as a head coach to come into a program to have these legendary coaches that have just been kind of taking me under their wing. And I don't, and that's why I said that about the players and former players should have included former coaches, because I mean, this is his program as much as anybody's, and I want to give that respect every day.
Secondly, I wanted to ask you just the timetable on assistants, and specifically 2014 you started that 4-year run to Omaha, and a lot of that was Mosiello and just the change in mindset, a very up-tempo offense attacking. Do you plan on, regardless of who you assign to take over the offense, sticking with that concept?
Yeah, you're talking about just giving the coach.
Offensive.
Yeah, so well, first of all, timetable and assistants as soon as we possibly can for the right people. And one of the biggest attractions to this job is our athletic director's commitment to, within reason, to hire the best people. And I've been super fortunate, whether it be Kirk Sarlos, Bill Mosiello, Randy Mazie, Todd Whitting, Chuck Girolman, who's now at the University of Florida, and Josh Elander, who's now at Tennessee. The key is to identify talent, whether it's a player or a coach. And so, for me, I've always tried to hire the best people. I like upwardly mobile coaches. In other words, I'm not afraid to hire a coach that someone may say, well, you may only keep him for 3 years because he's a big name and he may get a head coaching job. That doesn't bother me in the least, because all it does is help us hire the next guy. And when you hire someone who's talented, then you give them a framework by which to work in, and then you let them work. And so with Coach Mo at TCU, we needed just a total mindset change from an offensive standpoint. I'm a pitching guy at heart. I put my hand on everything, but pitching is where as an assistant coach, that's where I made my mark. And so Coach Mo at TCU, he's the head coach of the offense. We'll see what happens there with the job. He's certainly a candidate to be here. But yeah, in terms of up-tempo offense, on the offensive side of the ball, we don't ever want to be a team that's one-dimensional, because we want to be able to win the game in multiple ways. It begins and ends with starting pitching first and foremost, bar none, and then obviously catching the baseball and having a good bullpen. But from an offensive standpoint, if you're just a team that runs and steals bases, well, that can be defended against a good team with a good pitcher, a good catcher. If you're just a team that hits the ball out of the ballpark, well, that can be defended against a good pitcher or a ballpark that's big, like TD Ameritrade, or the wind blowing in on that particular day. So, we want, like every coach, you want to be able to do all kinds of things. On offense, you want to put pressure on the other team. You want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be reckless. But when, there's a fine line there. And sometimes when you're an aggressive base running team, and you give some freedom to 18 to 22-year-olds, they make some bad decisions every now and then. And that looks ugly. And like, wait, what just happened? He made the third out of third. But what I would ask our fans to look at is what happens over time. And so the goal of an offense is not to get hits. The goal of the offense is to score runs. And until we hit a rough spot the last 3 weeks of the season, but we were leading the nation in runs scored. And while we were about third or fourth in the Big 12 in batting average, but We have high on base percentage, extra base hits, stealing bases. I'm not that big on the sacrifice bunt. I want the bunt game to be a weapon that puts pressure on the other team, but I don't like to give up outs. There may be a time for that to happen, but offensively, we just want to be multi-dimensional, and that takes multi-dimensional players. And so going back to your question about timetable, I have to evaluate that roster, and we got 2000. I think the 2015 A&M team was one of the best teams that I was a part of ever being in the other dugout against. And I can't remember all the names. I know it was Banks and Alamon, and they had a couple boppers in there too, but it was a lot of pressure facing that club, and that's what we want to bring here.
Time for a couple more. Rob to the left, and then Brent to wrap us up.
Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
Rob Havens with Aggieland Illustrated. I got to see a video of an interview you did about 11 months ago where you talked about your faith and your family. Can you talk, I thought it was amazing, can you talk about how your faith and your family impact your coaching?
Well, certainly, the greatest motivational book or the greatest motivational or the greatest instructional manual that anybody could have, in my opinion, is the Bible. And so I'm not perfect. There's only ever been one perfect person on this planet, and they nailed him to a cross. And so certainly everything about who I am as a person is based on my faith. And everybody has a different faith. It could be stronger or lesser in other people, but that's how I try every single morning to live my life and how you treat people. And then certainly my family, Jackson and Katie, who are in here. There's nothing more important in my life than those two young people, and to give them the best chance to have success beyond where they are right now. But at TCU we held baseball chapel once a week, not required. I was heavily involved. I used to be on the board of the FCA in Fort Worth, and then at TCU, very involved with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I want to do the same thing here, and then give players the option. If that's something that is a part of their life, that's great. If it's not, that's fine too. But certainly that's makes me who I am.
Go Brent, and then we'll go over left second row.
I know you made multiple trips over here, but say like the 2016 Super Regional, what were your impressions of that setting, the Bluebell Park of Olson Field? The Raggies are on you. Do you have any kind of memories in particular of that? And were you taking it in at that point, thinking this might be a pretty cool place to coach at some point?
Yeah, I've been coaching 30 years, and so I've been in a lot of neat atmospheres over the course of that time. But all I remember is that it's so hot, and everybody's, it's a stadium that has a bunch of people in it, but it's straight up, so it's just on you all the time. And the first game where we in 16, we pretty much had the game under control. We scored early. I think Jansen pitched that game, if I can remember, and we stayed ahead. So the crowd got into it a little bit, but then the second game, I think somebody hit a home run in the first inning. Yep, and they hit the home run in the first inning, and then Mitchell Traver, one of my dearest former players, a great guy, he threw ball 2, ball 3, oh baby, here we go. And that I do remember that. It's like, when is he ever going to throw a strike? And I was also thinking, I'm not sure I can throw a strike right now. But and then the third game, Bryant Howard was outstanding, and we had control of that one. So yeah, it's just awesome traditions, awesome fan base, and glad to be in the right color jersey this time.
We'll wrap it up over here to the left.
Hi, Coach. Ryan Faulkner with Battalion here. We're big on core values here at Texas A&M, and in your welcome, Andrew mentioned that your 3 core values are selflessness, excellence, and energy. Can you go a little bit more in depth on how we'll see each of those implemented with the Maroon and White squad?
Yeah, well, first of all, those 3 things, that's how we build and maintain the program at TCU. Haven't quite decided exactly how to bring that here, because A&M has its own core values that already align with most of those things. But selflessness is basically this, to me. We define all these things. This life is not about you. It's about what you can do for other people. And I think in order for a team to have success, you have to give something up, and you have to give yourself to the team, and then the way life works, the more you give, the more you get back. Excellence is just trying to be 1% better every single day. It's the compound effect, which is one of my favorite books. I make every team I ever have coached read that book, and it's just putting good days on top of good days, and knowing that how you do anything is how you do everything. There's no such thing as being excellent on the baseball field, but not giving your best effort in the classroom or away from the field. So those are the things that I will hold the players accountable for. And the last one is energy, which is basically you can control your attitude and your effort, knowing that everybody has a bad day. But your attitude and your effort is something that you don't have to be a great player to do that. So that's something that I will hold the players accountable to.
Coach, one more from our student newspaper here.
Hi Coach, Jennifer Streeter with the Battalion. How does it feel to come into a program with an atmosphere that is already so established in tradition and culture, and how do you personally hope to add to that?
Well, we hope to add to it by putting a great product on the field and giving everybody something even more to cheer about. But I was handed a 3-ring binder when I landed yesterday, and a lot of the first page was all the traditions, and so I'm learning how to say howdy and make sure I don't say UT, it's supposed to be the other way, right? TU. My man Chris Del Conte will love that. But yeah, no, I'm super excited, and that's another thing that attracted me to this is I love being in those environments, even as a visiting team, just to be at a place where college baseball really means something. I'm from Western Maryland, and so growing up, obviously in cold weather, there's not a whole lot of high-end college baseball, but since I've been in Texas and in the Deep South, around all the great programs, predominantly in the SEC, and you turn the games on this weekend, you're going to see that. And so we have that here, and we have an opportunity to build on that.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.